Good day, and welcome to the Lilly Roddy Show, coming to you from the LRS studios here in Houston, Texas. What a week we've had with Mercury finally going direct. I thought I would have to get out and push and make that Mercury move faster. Well, we've been having our normal summer weather here in Houston, hot and muggy, to mostly more muggy and more humid. Things shift in November. And of course, there's a lot of shifts occurring with the planets this month. Mercury going direct from earlier in the month, to Jupiter moving into Leo, and Saturn going direct on the 20th. And finally, Mars, which has spent the last 7.5 months moving out of Libra into Scorpio at the very end of the month. The first half of the week should go well, but the 18th and 19th are much more edgy days. If you would like to contact me for a personal astrological session, you can always contact me at lilyroddyshow@aol.com. That's my email, lilyroddyshow.com, or find me on Twitter or Pinterest. If you miss my forecast here on YouTube, you can always go to our site, lilyroddyshow.com, for a complete written version. Now, let's look at July 13th through July 19th, 2014's planetary forecast, starting with Sunday, July the 6th. The moon resides in gentile Libra as the day begins. However, she will become void of course in the late morning. The moon trines Mercury at 5:53 a.m. We move through life easily this morning. Our communication skills are very good, even if it's very early in the morning. This is a good time for doing some organizing or blogging. Later in the morning, the moon squares Jupiter at 10:31 a.m. It is a good morning to be out and really enjoying the day. We're not looking for anything too structured, but if it fits our mood, we're happy to do it. If you are working, this is a great day to be in contact with clients and coworkers. We do not really feel focused, but we're happy to have diversions. The moon is now void of course at 10:31 a.m. until 2:34 p.m. when the moon enters seductive Scorpio. As the moon enters seductive Scorpio at 2:34 p.m., there are no more lunar aspects for the rest of the day, but the moon is not void of course. We should have ample energy and enthusiasm to carry us through the rest of the day and through the evening. It's definitely a good time to get out and change up your routines. Monday, July 7th. The moon transits unyielding Scorpio for the entire day. Early in the morning, Venus sextiles Uranus at 1:49 a.m. The energy of this aspect allows each of us to think outside of the box and to have a different perspective on how to approach problems. We're a little bit more open-minded with this aspect. And since this aspect has been in effect for a couple of days, it's a beneficial time to contact new clients, get involved in a community organization, or to have new friends enter your life. A little later in the morning, and that aspect is in effect all day. Later in the morning, the moon trines Neptune at 4:14 a.m. It's a wonderful aspect to experience while you're sleeping and having pleasant dreams. If you're awake, you're just feeling creative. In the morning, the moon sextiles Pluto at 12:49 p.m. The energy of this aspect will provide an excellent afternoon for any kind of business luncheon or meeting where you need to get clear about your career or your future. Your mind is more inventive with this aspect. In the evening, the moon trines the sun at 7:27 p.m. This connection between the sun and the moon provide for a very nice day. We prefer to be around familiar people and places this evening. With regard to business, we're much more likely to be more open and receptive to coworkers and clients. And finally, in the last part of the day, the moon conjunct Saturn at 9:12 p.m. This aspect will certainly take us to a much more serious and potentially pessimistic place this evening. It is a very good aspect for personal long-term evaluation of how well you're doing in your life and what you've not lived up to yet. Emotionally, we can feel very cautious and may be very guarded during this time. If you can, take a step back. It's a favorable time to see where you need to readjust your boundaries. On Tuesday, July 8th, the moon moves through Scorpio, the sign of the detective. She will turn void of course in the late afternoon. In the late morning, the sun squares Uranus at 11:23 a.m. This aspect embraces our desire to be free of restrictions that hold us back from being our personal selves. Family obligations and guilt can make us feel trapped today. This planetary combination can generate quite a bit of drama and craziness in people. That's including you. This is part of the residue of the cardinal cosmic cross that occurred in April. Since this aspect is in effect all day, keep your schedule and agenda very flexible. In the afternoon, the moon trines Jupiter at 5:33 p.m. We're breathing a sigh of relief this evening as the tension in the air doesn't seem to be as thick. All of us will be in the mood for a break or at minimally a retreat. It's a good time to be with friends or people of like mind. Now, the moon is void, of course, from 5:33 p.m. until 8:25 p.m. of the same day, when the moon enters rambunctious Sagittarius. In the evening, the sun trines Saturn at 7:29 p.m. These energies guide us to integrate our creative side with our more logical, practical side. This gives us the opportunity to plan for the future while making sure that we don't have to sacrifice everything just to have some sense of financial security. This is a good time for any type of business negotiations, including partnerships, both business and personal. This aspect is also in play all day and helps to offset some of the edginess of the Sun-Uranus square earlier in the day. The moon enters fiery Sagittarius at 8:25 p.m. and of course is no longer void of course. Excuse me, I had to have some water there. Wednesday, July 9th. The moon spends the day in highly imaginative Sagittarius. The moon squares Neptune at 9 a.m. This is the only aspect for the day. It's a combination of energies that will make us all want to stay in bed and avoid contact with other humans if possible. If you have to have contact, be sure and take your psychic shield with you. We discover that we're much more emotionally sensitive this morning. And since this is the only lunar aspect for the day, and even though the moon is not void of course, we may experience a real sluggish day where we don't get a lot accomplished. Plan your more important meetings on other days with aspects that are more directed toward accomplishing goals. Thursday, July 10th, the moon occupies dogmatic Sagittarius for almost the entire day. Very early in the morning, the moon trines Uranus at 12:14 a.m. This early morning aspect may keep us up later than usual. Our minds are busy and need some sort of entertainment. In the morning, the moon opposes Venus at 6:30 a.m. This is an ideal morning to be in bed with someone special, sharing personal stories and secrets. And if you can't have that, have a Snickers. This is one of the best aspects for self-indulgence. Enjoy yourself. Later in the morning, the moon sextiles Mars at 10:07 a.m. Our energies are strong this morning. It's a good time to tackle a new task and to throw ourselves into whatever project we're working on. Our self-confidence is stronger this morning. In the evening, the moon opposes Mercury at 7:19 p.m. We are very chatty this evening. It's a good evening for entertaining clients, attending a lecture, or just socializing with friends. And it's always a perfect time to change up your routine. After 7:19, the moon is now void of course in Sagittarius until 10:25, when Luna enters practical Capricorn. This would be a good time to get yourself ready for your next day. Friday, July 11th, the moon travels through task-oriented Capricorn for the entire day. In the morning, the moon sextiles Neptune at 10:12 a.m. We're more open and able to connect with others around us this morning. These energies would help any type of negotiations. Trust your instincts this morning. In the afternoon, the moon conjuncts Pluto at 5:48 p.m. Persephone returns to the underworld. This energy would be best experienced in a quiet and safe place. We're extremely emotionally sensitive and a bit paranoid. We are just seeing the darker realms more easily with this aspect. Find yourself a quiet spot and turn right if you encounter any drama. Fortunately, we will not be as reclusive in the latter part of the evening. On Saturday, July 12th, the moon continues her journey through frugal Capricorn for most of the day. In the morning, the moon squares Uranus at 12:45 a.m. This will definitely keep you up later than usual. If you have a late night project, this transit would be great energy for working on that. Otherwise, we may just experience this as a time of restlessness and being bored. Just a little bit later, the moon sextiles Saturn at 1:07 a.m. If you're awake, you're working on your to-do list for your normal waking hours. Finally, the moon opposes the sun at 6:25 a.m. Now, this is the full moon in Capricorn. The full moon allows us to see how well we're doing, especially in the areas of our life associated with career, marriage plans, retirement, or any long-term future planning. Our sense and desire of family communications are enhanced with this full moon. On a personal level, you just may want to touch base with those closest to you. The moon squares Mars at 11:42 a.m. Our emotional volatility is strong during the late morning. We're feeling more courageous, and we will not allow others to dictate to us. Be careful that you don't overreact, but it's always a good time to stand up for yourself. And finally, as we get into the evening, the moon opposes Jupiter at 8:56 p.m. The moon makes its final contact with the remnants of the cardinal cosmic cross that we experienced in April. We have been experiencing this energy all day while the moon transits Capricorn. This evening, we desire to get away from it all with this moon opposing Jupiter. This would be an enjoyable evening for a night at the theater, a dinner party with friends, or a walk along the beach. Now, the moon is void, of course, from 8:56 p.m. until 10:07 p.m. when she enters the sign of Aquarius, the water bearer. It's not a very long void, of course, moon, and you probably won't notice it. And finally, the last aspect for the day, Mercury enters Cancer at 11:45 p.m. Mercury, the planet that rules communications, spends the next 18 days or so influencing our thoughts about home, family, and emotional security. This is a good time for any projects centered around remodeling or making your nest a more comfortable place. Well, that's it for this week's forecast. Please join me next week as we look at what's coming up for July 20th through July 26th, 2014. And thank you for the emails and the compliments that you send me. If you haven't taken some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. This is the Lilly Roddy Show, coming to you from the LRS studios, reminding you to keep those stars in your eyes. Bye-bye. See you next week.